Welcome to Spring LIB.
Here we're going to talk about an anti-cancer drug that takes 11 steps to synthesize. The final yield of this anti-cancer drug, which has the chemical formula of C47, H51, N14, the final yield is equal to 5%. So assuming that each step has an equivalent yield, what is going to be our average percent yield for each step in this synthesis? So if you imagine we have our starting reactants here. So I'm just going to write R for our reactants. We have 1 step with an intermediate, 2 steps with an intermediate, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 to generate our product. It's a pretty complicated reaction here. Okay, so in these 11 steps, we know that our final percent yield is 5%, and that each step has a similar percent yield. So to attack this problem, we know that our reactants start out with 100%, because you start out with your reactants, you're not going to lose any of your reactants because you haven't done anything to them yet. So what we're going to do is we need to be able to calculate the percent yield of each of these intermediates, assuming that all of these steps will have equivalent percent yields. So how do we do that? Well, if we start with 100%, we know that there's some percent yield that's going to happen 11 times. So we're going to raise that to the 11th power. So right here, we're looking for this number where we're starting with 100%, and then we're doing 11 steps of a certain percent yield here. And that's going to give us 5% at the end. So how can we calculate this number right here? So this is going to require a little bit of fancy math. So we can divide both sides by 100 and we get that x, I'm going to denote this value as x to the 11th power, is equal to 5 over 100, which is equal to 0.05. So now we're left with taking the 11th root of 0.05. When we put that into our calculator, we get that x is equal to 0.762. So what does this tell us? What does this value tell us right here? This value tells us that our percent yield of each of the steps, so our percent yield of each step has to equal 76.2% in order for our final percent to be 5.